Hey, what is up, everyone? So, Sea of Thieves is finally fixing Hourglass, or at the very least, making it somewhat playable. So, this was something that was announced a while ago, but we've gotten some leaked information about what they're actually doing to address Hourglass, and I'm actually pretty excited for it. So now I do want to temper expectations a little bit. The team that's focusing on fixing the Hourglass is the same team that was focused on the quick swapping and other stuff that they've been doing. So it's not going to be like a huge big content release. It's not going to be a whole season of content or something like that. It's going to be somewhat of a minor update to the mode, which in some ways is a good thing because that means that we're probably going to get it sooner than if they were to do some kind of big overhaul to the whole thing. So if you remember a while back when I talked about the things that I would like to see happen to Hourglass to make the mode better, some of the main things that I talked about that would be easy fixes for Rare to do would be to add a timer to the mode and potentially to add a shrinking boundary that will get smaller as the round progresses. That way it forces the people to fight and hopefully for someone to win or lose at that point, and then we can avoid these everlasting battles within Hourglass. Personally, I'm more a fan of the whole time limit idea, and then at the end of the timer, if neither crew could have sunk the other, then it would just be based off of who did the most damage to each other, maybe how many kills you've got, and just kind of like a cumulative scoring based off that. But with this leaked information from this data miner that I saw over on Twitter, which I've been following for a little bit, just kind of keep an eye on it. Usually I don't talk about it on the channel just because it ends up showing up in Insiders a few weeks later, but I was pretty excited when I saw this. And there's actually leaked code here regarding the Hourglass update, which says the battle boundary shrinking. So we are getting basically what I talked about there. Like I said, I would much rather it be a time limit, but maybe that's something that's also coming here. I'm hoping there's more to this Hourglass update than just the shrinking boundary, because I feel like that alone is not enough to bring people back in. However, I do think this is a good step forward in terms of making Hourglass a playable mode. So outside of the time limit, I would say one thing that they should do, which would help both Hourglass players, but also I feel like just normal players that play Sea of Thieves and don't care about Hourglass at all, is to have Hourglass battles exist in a separate server. You could have, multiple Hourglass fights happening in that same server, but the thing that I want to kind of get away from is having two ships taking up server space in what would normally be just like a regular server. Now, the PvE people love this because it means that less people are likely going to attack them because they're distracted with their own battles. And usually the Hourglass people, once they finish a battle, they might go and sell a flag or whatever that they have, and then they're going to dive to their next battle. They don't usually stick around on the server for too long. So in my opinion, I feel like players that are in Hourglass are just wasting space inside of the server that could go to other, adventure players that are actually going and trying to get treasure. Maybe they're going to steal, they're doing world events, whatever the case may be, they're at least contributing something to the server that I think is a little bit more meaningful. And if you look at this from the Hourglass side, I know tons of Hourglass players get really pissed off when you have like a third party crew that comes in and then just starts messing with the two that are fighting. So it actually, I think, fix both issues. It would make it so that people that are doing the Hourglass battles have more of a fair fight because they're not going to have some random third party coming in and messing it up. And on the other side of things, it's going to free up at least 2 slots on these servers so that the Sea of Thieves world feels more alive and not just being taken up by these 2 ships that are kind of doing their own thing. Another thing that I would like to see for Hourglass is potentially doing something similar to what they have with the Chest of Fortune. Now, they have to balance this properly. I feel like if they make it too high, then no one's going to care about it. But if they make it a reasonable amount, then it could work. And what I would like to see is essentially make it so that each season there's like a certain win target that you try to get to, and then you can get some cosmetics tied to it, and that will keep stacking after each season release. And that would allow for a constant flow of rewards going into Hourglass, but I also think you can make it so that it's not going to be too hard for people to catch up into it later. So it's great for the people that are consistently playing Hourglass, but also great for the people that might play every couple seasons. And what I would like to see is basically it be based on how many wins do you get in Hourglass. So maybe there's a counter for, every 10 wins you get a reward in Hourglass. And you could either have it kind of like Chest of Fortune where it stacks each season. So, it'd be like 10 for the first season, then 20 for the next season, and then 30 for the next season. It would just kind of be building upon it, each of them in terms of how many wins you have to get. Or you could basically make it flat where, the new cosmetics that come in, it just has a new tally for you to start getting 10 more wins. when that cosmetic was introduced. Either way, I think works. I think some people might prefer the Chest of Fortune route because then you get to see more of a total of like, okay, well, I got 60 wins and this is the cosmetic I got for it. Another reason why I like this idea is just because I feel like right now the rewards going between levels 1 and 100 are kind of lackluster. You have like, some variants of like the figurehead and stuff for each side. I never found them too appealing, but I feel like the cosmetics that people are mostly interested in are after level 100. So it makes that grind between 1 and 100 really disappointing and lackluster. And I think this would help a lot for people that, are just starting out and need some motivation to keep going and try to get the wins. And I think it would also help the players that have been playing for a long time. Maybe they're at like a level 1000 or whatever and they've unlocked everything. It would give them a constant flow of cosmetics to keep working for each season. Another thing that I would like to see is potentially make it so that when you go into an Hourglass battle, you automatically get given a certain amount of supplies, or maybe there has to be some sort of minimum that you have to have, and then if you are below that, you get added that amount, or if you're above that, you just don't get anything. Basically, what I want to try to do is essentially make it so that both sides have a certain amount of supplies guaranteed when they go into the battle. Because there's been plenty of times when people will go into the battle, they don't want to go back to supply up, they just want to go straight into the next one, and maybe they, didn't prepare ahead of time and they don't have that many cannonballs when they went into it, or, they only had like 5 coconuts left, whatever the case may be. I think it'd be nice to be able to have, for Hourglass specifically, have a higher amount of supplies than say like the base ship. And then if you don't use up your supplies and you are the winner of that round, then you get to keep those supplies that you've gotten. Maybe we could have it so that maybe you have like a guaranteed 1 pineapple and some pomegranates and, a handful of chain shots and, whatever the case may be. Just basically a good solid set of supplies that you have every time you go into an Hourglass match, so that in between the matches, whether you sink or if you are victorious but you wasted all your supplies on that last round, you're not spending so much time getting supplies and rather you're just going back into another battle. I think that would help a lot in terms of making the flow of Hourglass battles a lot more fun and engaging. And I also think it would help because I feel like a lot of people, the reason why they are running during the battles, or they're so scared to go fight the other ship because they don't want to lose their ship. And I think the main reason people are like that is because they have certain amount of supplies and they don't want to lose it and have to restart in terms of that. So I think that would also help maybe the fears that people have in terms of engaging and going a little bit more aggressive when playing. And I think that would help also fix the running problem that we see with Hourglass. The main thing for me that's always been with Hourglass is I just hated the idea of going into an Hourglass battle that could either last 5 minutes or last 2 or 3 hours. So I think the shrinking circle that we're going to have with this is going to help a lot. It really depends on how it actually works out, and then if the shrinking circle just stops and it's still like a wide enough space that people can still run away or just going to keep resulting in a stalemate, then I don't think they've done everything that they need to address the core issue with Hourglass. And the time limit thing might need to be added. But if they make the battle boundary basically make it so that at a certain point, if it's still a stalemate, it basically shrinks into 1 ship can survive in the area, or maybe no ships can survive, and it's basically whoever had the most damage is just done for. Whatever the case may be, I'm interested to see how they implement this. Obviously, we'll have to wait probably about a month or so once they get this a little bit more settled and see how it ends up in Insiders. I'm really hoping that it works out well because I would like to maybe get more involved with Hourglass and work towards unlocking the curses and other stuff related to it because I think it's a good foundation. It just has some core issues that have made me stay away for a long time. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think about my ideas, and are you excited about this battle boundary shrinking leak that we have for Hourglass coming up soon, hopefully within the next couple months? Let me know what you would like to see to help fix Hourglass in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you have to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.